In South Australia, they're pretty adamant with your pricing range. Some agents will do what we call price baiting.
Let's talk prices. Sales agent and property investor from Ouwens Casserly, David Liston, offers us some expert advice when it comes to how a property is priced, giving us a peek into the world of why a sales agent prices the way they do and what you need to know about it as an investor.
If it's too good to be true, it generally is.
What are the don'ts?
Don't always trust the price. Auctions play on emotion. Probably the best advice to it is.
David shares some key takeaways you need to know as a property investor about private treaty, best offer buys, and auction campaigns, and what's the best strategy.
The most important thing to understand is
whether you're buying an investment property or about to cash in and sell, understanding the right pricing strategy can be crucial to securing a deal as both the seller or purchaser. My name's Todd Sloan. This is the Pizza and Property Podcast, and you're listening to my chat with sales agent David Liston. David Liston, how are you?
good. Thanks, Todd. Good to be back.
Mate, it's good to have you back.
Thank you.
We're talking prices today.
Yeah.
I've been getting a few messages about this one, more so around the tips on what should I do? What does it mean when there's no price? What's the best offer buy thing I'm seeing around the place? And what's the best strategy if I'm bidding at an auction? I don't even know how auctions work. And I thought this is actually going to be a really good slice as far as just some evergreen content that people can come to, whether they're looking at it right now or in a few years' time. I think it's going to help a lot of people. Yep. So do you mind if we go through the format of a bit of an overview of each one, what the don'ts are and what the do's are? Happy if we start with private treaty?
So a private treaty campaign is the most simplest. It's a price strategy. So in South Australia, we can only advertise within 10% range. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking at property and it's got 599, that is generally a private treaty campaign.
Okay. All right. So basically when there's a range, but it's not just a range though, is it? If there's just like 500,000, that's still
Correct.
private treaty?
That's still private treaty.
And is there any other kind of exceptions to it or maybe variations people might see?
No, not with a private treaty. It's just a priced campaign.
Priced
It's as simple as it gets. You, as a purchaser, you know what you're looking at. You can see exactly where the property is priced and you go from there. So in some other states, you might see offers above a set price. That's also a private treaty.
Right, but you're not allowed to do that in SA still, are you?
No, you're not. In South Australia, they're pretty adamant with your pricing range.
Yep.
And like I indicated before, it can not exceed 10%.
So what are the don'ts? If someone's looking at buying and the property they're after has a private treaty sort of price method to it, what are the do nots or the beware ofs?
Don't always trust the price. Some companies or some agents will do what we call price baiting.
Yep.
So that is where the price is very relatively low to where the market comparables are. So I always recommend do your own research. The reason it's done in this industry is so they get more buyers through the door.
Yeah, price it low, watch it go.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. And that's something that sometimes it might be priced a little bit lower than where it goes, but there's a big difference between maybe a little bit lower and like all the evidence suggests 600 and we've priced it at 400, that kind of thing.
If it's too good to be true, it generally is.
Probably is. Okay. All right, what are some of the do's? If someone sees it, it's got a price on it, what things should they keep in mind to be like, okay, maybe I can use this to my advantage as an investor?
Yeah, good question, Todd. I think really to watch the campaign. Mm-hmm. Because if a property is priced on the other end and it's not getting that interest at that price point, there will be price reductions. So being able to see the campaign when there is a price reduction.
So don't get turned off if you see something you think, wow, that's way overpriced.
Yeah.
That could actually be a good thing potentially.
It can, because if the interest level is not there from the beginning, mm-hmm. The agent will advise to realign to market. Yep. And that's when you'll start to see the price come down, which can lead to your advantage.
Gotcha. Okay. So don't believe all the price because Correct. It might be bait price, might not, but It might be. So
and look,
do your
we
own
don't
research.
we don't get it right all the time as agents. So
yep. And then the do's, basically make sure that if you do see something that is where you think way overpriced, keep your eye on it. Don't just walk away.
Yep.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay. Best offer buy. Now, this used to be a favorite of mine, but I don't know if the flavor has changed in the market at all. Someone sees a BOB. What does it mean?
So best offer buy or expressions of interest.
Mm-hmm.
This is a favorite by agents and it's the most hated selling strategy by purchasers.
I would not like to buy this way, but
No.
It was brilliant to sell this way.
Yeah, correct. And obviously as agents, we work for the vendor, not the purchasers.
Mm-hmm.
However, as a purchaser, I steer clear of these selling strategies. Now, a best offer buy can mean two things.
Mm-hmm.
It can mean that the property is overpriced, or it's a very unique property in which there's not many comparables, and obviously the agent wants to let the market dictate price.
Yep. Okay, so something like maybe an acreage or like some kind of a unique penthouse, something along those lines.
Yeah. Not your standard 3 and 2.
Yep. Okay. All right. So there can really be a swing between the bottom end offer and the top end offer.
Correct.
And that swing can be hundreds of thousands in some cases, depending on the price point, of course.
So as a purchaser, the most important thing to understand is when you're using a best offer buy or purchasing through one of these selling strategies is that you put down where you see value.
Well, and that was the way I always used to walk through it. If you're talking to an investor, it's like put down where the numbers work. And then if the numbers don't work, just walk away.
Correct.
It's as simple as that. But if it's a heartstrings kind of emotional situation, again, put down where if I called you tomorrow and said, hey, it's just sold for X, you'd go, you know what, I wouldn't have paid that anyway. So walk away.
Correct.
So what are some of the don'ts with a best offer buy?
Probably the best advice, Todd, is don't go in blind. Do some research.
Okay, and when you're saying some research, you're going onto what, sold section of realestate.com? Like where should people be going?
Always the sold section of realestate.com. If you've got somebody in the industry that you can lean on, they might be able to get some comparable sales or just some sound advice before you go and make that offer. That's
actually one that I always used to do for people and get asked, and I'm sure you're doing all the time, is a bit of a sales history report.
Yep.
The thing that I always found really helpful as well is when it was ordered from least expensive to most expensive. So that would give you a really easy snapshot of bottom end and the top end of the market.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And so make sure you're going in there, or don't go in there rather blind, and just trust what the agent's saying, because naturally the agent is paid to get the most amount of money.
We work for the vendor.
Exactly. Okay. What's another do? What's something that people should really be doing on the best offer buy side?
So with the best offer buy, there'll always be a date. And my recommendations is put your best foot forward, because
it is best offer buy.
It is a best offer buy. It's self-explanatory, but what often happens is some investors not trust the process or trust in where they're at, and when you get the phone call to say you've missed out, they would say, but Dave, I would have put another 20,000 down.
And something I want to build on with this as well, and I'm sure you'll probably echo this, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but is actually asking the question, will I have a chance for another offer? Because I find some agents will go and ping pong back between everyone, where some agents will just go like, well, no, it's literally your best offer. That's it. The process is going to do the work.
100%, Todd. Ask the agent. Every agent does this differently, but ask the agent of the time frame in which the offers are being presented, and do we have another opportunity to revise?
I like that, because that way you know where you stand at least.
Correct.
But on the flip side to that as well, even if they do say, yes, you've potentially got another chance to revise, I'm going back through phone calls of angry purchases at the moment in my head. And it was a case of an absolutely stellar offer came in. The vendors went, we'd be stupid not to take it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you've got to make all of these awkward phone calls. I'm really sorry, but like a Hail Mary came in last minute. Yeah. So I really look at this as an investor of do your numbers, put in your offer where it works, just take it seriously, best offer buy. Yep. And if you're happy getting it for that price, great. And if you don't get it and you get that phone call from the agent going, you know what, sorry, you missed out, you can go, it doesn't matter. That's not the one, because at least I put it in where the numbers work.
Correct. Yep.
All right, 100%. Cool, man. Auctions are great to purchase through because they are fully transparent. You get to rock up on the auction day, you get to see where everyone else is at as far as their bidding. And I suppose the things to be most mindful of with an auction is just the conditions regarding that auction. Expand on that, because it's slightly different from state to state.
Yep.
But the sort of big three,
10% deposit payable on the day after the fall of the hammer. There's no calling off, so be aware of that. Once the fall of the hammer's happened, you have purchased that property. And generally it's a 30-day settlement.
Are you seeing a few more 45s now, or it's still pretty 30?
Yeah, look, so with auctions there are variances in which the vendors may choose to accept on the day, and it is pushing out to 45 days, a bit of a norm as well.
Can you open up a little bit about a variance for anyone that's wondering what that is?
So a variance is something that's agreed upon between the purchaser and the vendor on the day of the auction, and that may be an extended settlement. So instead of being a 30-day or 45-day settlement, it's more like a 60 or 90-day, or a deposit. So some people can't come up with 10% deposit on the day, so there may be a variance of 5%.
Okay. So for anyone thinking, oh, cool, I'll just put a subject to settlement variance in there. Can you walk us through the likelihood of that getting signed off by the vendor?
Very slim. So the whole point of an auction is to try and get as clean as conditions as you can for your vendor. If you were to sell subject to a settlement, you would probably do something like a best offer buy, or you would entertain that following the auction if it gets passed in.
I was about to ask you the don'ts, but I feel like this really is the don'ts. Just don't go in blind.
Don't go in blind.
Don't not understand the way auction conditions work.
Oh, the other thing with auctions to be very mindful of, don't put offers in with conditions prior to auction.
Okay, open that up. Why is that?
Well, you're more likely, to show your hand to begin with, but you will get basically put on the sideline. And if the auction doesn't end up going the way they anticipated and passes in, well, then you will be referred to afterwards, but you've basically shown your hand, and you won't secure that property prior to an auction.
And as much as you are referred to after the auction, you could also be referred to after the auction by simply walking up if it's passed in and handing in your offer right then and there.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
So there's too much risk associated with the vendor taking offers with conditions prior.
All right, rounding everything out then, David, we're looking at the do's for auctions. What should investors be doing if they're looking at purchasing at an auction?
A little bit like a best offer buy, set your limit. So rock along to the auction with confidence. Everyone talks about strategy at auction. Some people wait until the end before they come in. My recommendations to all my purchases are just set your limit. What's your walkaway price? If it doesn't go to that and you secure it, for a little bit less, happy days. If it goes above that, then potentially walk away.
You got any tips on setting your limit? Because I find that can be the hard thing. And if people don't set a hard and fast limit, then there's no point in setting a loose one. Otherwise, it's not really a limit.
And this is like auctions play on emotion. So auctions are there to get drawn up in the days, get tied up with the excitement, and bid well above your budget.
It's real estate theatre.
Yeah, it is. However, if you're an investor, you do your numbers. You know where that property works for you. You'll know what yields it works out. So once you start getting out of that comfort zone, that's probably when you should start to question, okay, well, are we now going above where we need to be?
I like that. So you're looking at it going, okay, I'm after a 5% yield, whatever it is. And then it goes to, okay, well, if I bought it now, it'd be a 4.8% yield.
Yep.
If I bought it now, it'd be a 4.6. Oh, no, wait a second. I'm absolutely not accepting anything below X.
Yep.
And that way, you still, it's working on paper for you.
Yep.
Cool. Love it. Is there any final words of wisdom or anything you'd like to leave our audience with today as far as private treaties, best offer buys, and auction campaigns?
Look, they can all be used to your advantage in one way or another. Obviously, just when you are purchasing through any of these strategies, just do your homework, ask the right questions to the agent, and set your limits.
Get sales figures.
That's it.
Love it. David Liston from Ouwens Casserly, thank you so much for coming on the show, mate.
You're welcome, Todd.